Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Hey y'all, so I'm back from Portugal. I went on a celebration of our 40th birthday with all of my friends from college, and we had an amazing time. On my flight back, I developed a cough. I just started coughing, and I'm not someone who normally gets sick. I think you can tell from my voice I'm still pretty congested. And honestly, I can probably count on one hand since pre-pandemic where I've even had any kind of illness. Like, I'm a firm masker still. Like, I still wear my mask in clinic. I usually still wear my mask in the airport, on planes. I actually didn't for this trip. This was the first time I flew really without masking. Oh, actually, I did that also when I flew to the Caribbean. I started to get a little bit more lax, and it caught me slipping. Now I got an illness, right? I have an upper respiratory infection. But I believe in my immune system because as a pediatrician, kids have been coughing in my mouth since 2016. And so I have been exposed to everything. So honestly, even like when my boyfriend gets sick or my mom gets sick, I don't even do anything extra, like even if they're in the house, to protect myself, because I firmly never get it. Like, whatever they have, I never catch. My mom lives upstairs. It's a 2-family house, separate units, but still, right? If my boyfriend's here, I'll still be cuddled right up next to him and you're going to get sick. And I'm like, I'm really not going to get sick because I have such a firm belief in my immune system. I was genuinely surprised that I got sick. Genuinely surprised. So anyway, I start coughing and I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a little throat thing. The air is dry on the plane. The last hotel room I stayed in Lisbon, I'm heavily allergic to perfume. I'm one of these people that's like pan allergic to everything, right? Like I have eczema, asthma, allergies, like I have it. So they sprayed the room with a perfume and I could detect it, and I'm very sensitive to perfume. So I had opened all the windows, the little balcony doors, things like that. But when I woke up, I definitely felt like, okay, maybe I had a little wheeze. So I thought, okay, this is probably just like a carryover from being in this hotel room that I was allergic to. No big deal. It will pass. That was Monday, the day I returned. I didn't open my schedule on Tuesday, so I didn't really have commitments. I had my normal therapy appointment that I have just very late on Tuesday evening. I did some virtual correspondence for clinic, nothing major, no phone calls, no videos, nothing. So I'm like, okay, I'll rest. It's fine. I'll probably be a little jet lagged. The next day comes and I am booked and busy. I have a full schedule. I have 4 client coaching calls scheduled. I have a meeting with my VA. We meet at the beginning of the month just to go over metrics, specifically to go over metrics, to go over the social media content for the month, to give feedback. We do a very concentrated meeting. I coach for the Doctor Coach School, as some of you may know. And so there's a group coaching call that I do every Wednesday for them. So I had a full day. I had another meeting as well in the morning, just like a full day because it's my first day back and my schedule was open and everybody booked. So let me tell you how I felt. I woke up feeling like just really low energy. I couldn't stop coughing. I was congested. And so within an hour or so of waking up, I was like, oh, I don't necessarily feel better. And I think my cough is a little bit worse. So let me start rescheduling these client coaching calls. I have 2 beliefs. One is that I really always want to show up in the best way for my clients, and that is both being in full energy and also modeling the behavior that I want them to also exhibit. So I never want people to work when they're sick. That's something that we learn in medicine. It's not a good habit. And then also for me as an individual, I also want to honor how my body feels. So knowing how I felt, knowing that I was congested, knowing that it was a really packed day and that I needed full energy to do that much coaching, that much talking, I decided, okay, let me start rescheduling. It was actually it felt like a really hard decision for me, actually. So I started sending out the text to each client individually to let them know how I was feeling and that we needed to reschedule. And the guilt that I felt in sending these messages could have stopped me from sending it and could have really influenced me to just push through, because that is really the impetus that I have is, oh, I can just push through it. In fact, the group coaching call for Dr. Coach School that I do is one of the ones I did not try to reschedule. I felt like I just had this like warring thing. Like, I already been out for a week. Like, how am I going to show up after not being available for a week to then say, oh, sorry, I know we had plans, but I need another day? There's a feeling about it, right? Like this sense of obligation to not disappoint others. I think it's that feeling like, oh, people are going to be disappointed in me if I don't show up. And that is a really powerful emotion, because I think that is how I talk myself into doing things that I don't need to be doing. And so I was really proud that I still sent the messages. Even for my clients who wanted to reschedule, I was like, let's reschedule. It was a Wednesday, so let's reschedule for Friday. And they were like, you might still need time. Let's just push it to next week. Like, everyone was so gracious and so accommodating. Even I reached out to Dr. Kimmy. She's in the middle of a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot on her plate. Knowing the behind the scenes, I think, also influences how I make my decisions, because I know she has a lot going on. And how dare I come off vacation and be like, nope, still can't support you. Sorry. But I did reach out to her and just let her know that I wasn't feeling well, but that I was going to try to push through the call. I was like, oh, I got my tea on deck. I got my cough drops. Got me my little Ricolas sitting on the desk. And she asked, do you need me? I think she could tell probably from the way I was messaging, because I had messaged the day before and then again the next day. It's like this crazy thing when walking the line. I didn't want to say that this is what I needed because it felt bad and I didn't want to disappoint, but also I needed it. Like, I'm sure I was hoping that she would just be like, no, don't worry about it, without actually asking for it, because I wanted it to really be her decision whether or not she needed the help. Do you know what I mean? Like, allowing someone else to make the decision makes it feel maybe less bad. I don't know. But it's also terrible to just not say what it is that you need when you need it, and to not trust that the people in your life are going to support you. And truly they are, right? Like, that to me is my own trauma response that I'm dealing with. That is, for me, something that I need to work on as an individual. And it really has nothing to do with the outside person, like the other person, because none of these people, like not my clients, not Dr. Kimmy, no one expects me to work when I'm sick. It's me. I expect me to work when I'm sick. Yes, the medical industrial complex also expects you to work when you're sick. And I think I've taken that on to the point where even outside of medicine, I continue to try to push myself to show up, because I think that is what everybody wants and expects, even though when I dissect it, it doesn't make sense. So she asked me, do you need me to get on this call? Do you want me to take over for you? She wasn't necessarily prepared to jump on it. I'm sure she had other things to do. Her kids are homeschooled. She has a full plate, but she was like, I'll get dressed and get on this call. So I was like, yes, you know what, just get on. Let's see how it goes. Man, after 5 minutes, I think she just took over the call, and then she was like, please go lay down and rest. And I was so grateful for that. I do not often allow people to show up for me. And the funny thing about that, about not asking directly for help, is that if someone, let's say Dr. Kimmy didn't say, oh, I want to take over for you. Or let's say if I was wishy-washy with the clients and with my coaching doctors, who are all phenomenal women, and they wouldn't necessarily do this. But let's say I just don't directly ask for something, and I do this hinty, passive way of mentioning something that I need, and then the person doesn't rise to the occasion. Let's say they ignore what I'm saying, or they take my words at face value. They literally are like, oh, she said she's fine. I'm going to leave her, let her do it. And I have to push myself through it. It just reinforces for me to not ask for help, or that people are not necessarily going to be there. And that's so unfair because I never asked for it. I never asked for that support from them. I just assumed that no one wants to cover my slack. Thank God she did that. Thank God I also decided to reschedule the calls because my day went to shambles after that. Essentially, I was just in and out of sleep for the entire day. Thank God my mother lives upstairs. She came down so many times to check on me. She made me soup. She made me tea out of some random Caribbean bush. I don't even know what the concoctions was that I've been drinking. But let me tell you, I've been hydrated, okay? One thing I am is hydrated and fed, okay? Enough for me to be on this recording today. And I literally just got to rest. And today, I'm recording on 4th of July. By the time you guys see this, it'll be next Tuesday or hear this, depending on your platform. But I would not have been as well recovered today if I had not had people supporting me, if my clients weren't supporting me, if Dr. Kimmy had not made better judgment than I was making and taken over the call, if my mom did not step in and bring me food. Like, I have such a community, and because I talk about true ways of honoring ourselves, it felt authentic to rest. It felt authentic to reschedule for the most part. And so now I got to continue to lean into that and continue to ask for help when I need it, because I'm not great at that. But I am just so grateful. That is something that I've learned since finishing training, because I don't think I knew that before. I definitely pushed myself to go into work when I was sick. I've definitely been in the hospital, in the ER, while on shift, with an IV line on, with the hospital tag on, in my scrubs, trying to still serve patients and also maybe serve myself simultaneously, which just is just not a good scenario. Like, it's just not what I want to do. And I talk a lot about building this coaching business because I think it exposes a lot of the bad habits that I carry forward from medicine, which is that I do not always prioritize self, or that feeling of prioritizing self sometimes is a difficult decision, one that sometimes feels a little bit delayed to make. I think really long and hard before I would like reschedule, or before I would just take a day off. There has to be like legit, I have to feel strongly about it still. And that is definitely a carryover from working in medicine, from training in medicine. It's funny that we learn how to take care of people, but at detriment to ourselves. It's not a holistic healthcare system where both the providers and the patients are well tended to. It is a very capitalistic, abusive system where the workers just plug away like cogs in a wheel, regardless as to how you feel. It's all about making money and getting the most amount of work done. Still something I'm struggling with. You can still hear the frog in my throat. I'm still coughing. I've paused this recording already to stop and cough. But the reason I even decided to record today, because that was not my plan. This is not me trying to push to do something I don't need to be doing, is I really was just laying around. I'm still in my pajamas. I was just laying around and just really thinking about this message of how many of us are pushing ourselves to show up even when we are less than 50%. I was definitely at 10% yesterday. I couldn't have even recorded this yesterday. It was so bad. How many of us are pushing when we are depleted just because we don't want to disappoint others? Or it's not even that they were disappointed, because no one in my community expressed disappointment. The thing is, I anticipated that people would be disappointed, and I felt disappointed that I was not going to be able to serve others when I had originally agreed to it. I had committed to it. So to break a commitment felt disappointing, and I don't like that feeling, right? So much that I had considered whether or not to reschedule. Like, it wasn't an automatic. It was a back and forth. And so in doing it, in rescheduling it, in receiving the response that I received from the doctors in my program, from Dr. Kimmy, from my mom, is that it is okay to take care of myself, to self-prioritize. It is okay. And even if they hadn't had that response, it's still okay. But I think it's helpful for the stage that I'm in to receive that positive response, because that is also reinforcing for me, because we don't live in a bubble. It's nice to think that in isolation, I could just decide it's okay, regardless as to what everyone or anyone has to say. I would love to be there. That's where I'm working towards, because really that's the goal. But also, I think when it happens and people are supportive, it feels good, because it's another reinforcing confirmatory response. And I needed that yesterday. I really needed that, so that when I laid down, I was not worried about, what everybody else might have been feeling or thinking or wondering. Like, I still very much have a lot of my value tied into the service that I provide to others. And that's part of medicine. That's part of Black womanhood, I think. We talk a lot about our ability to serve other people, our ability to show up for others is where we derive a lot of our value and a lot of our feedback from. And so when you're not able to do that, what does it mean for your value? And so just understanding and appreciating that people value me even when I take rest for myself, even when I take vacation, which we know I have successfully been taking vacation every single month this year, and nothing has changed in my relationships. So the people who are in my life are the right people to be in my life, because they support me and support my prioritization of self, if that makes sense. If you have people in your life that do not support that, this is like a red flag, right? Like relationships of any kind, friendships, family, romantic, whatever it is, the people in your life need to support you when you take care of yourself and not make it about them. And so I'm really grateful. I'm really thankful to my community. What I want for all of you that are listening is that you recognize that, yes, sometimes it is a hard decision and there's a lot of warring emotions. It's never a regret to do what's best for you. Usually you end up regretting that you pushed yourself to do something you shouldn't have done. If I had tried to do all of the things yesterday, I don't even know what would have happened, because I literally slept like for most of the day and the entire night. It didn't even throw off my sleep schedule for the night. I promptly still went to bed on time, even though I had 5 naps yesterday. So that's just to tell you how depleted I was and how bad my body felt. Like I had a fever, body aches, chills, like the full 9 in the afternoon and into the evening. And it's not COVID. I tested myself. Maybe it's flu. I don't know what kind of Portuguese flu they got flying around over there, but I got it and it's terrible. But I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't made the choice, but I'm so glad that I did. And that's what really what I want to encourage all of you to do, is to be choosing yourself. You don't regret choosing yourself. It is not easy, right? It feels bad. I really felt bad. But then after I did it and everyone responded in the way, it felt really good to know that I was demonstrating the behavior that I preach. It's not just me giving lip service. Like, it felt like I was in integrity. And that's really important, I think, as a coach, teaching others how to take care of themselves so that the things that they're doing are sustainable, so that they can show up in a certain way. And so for me to not do that would have been hypocritical. And I think you would have seen it in the way that I show up. So when you're out of integrity, it shows up. When you are telling people how to take care of themselves, but you're not taking care of yourself, you become a different kind of provider. Like, you become a different type of practicing physician. Your attitude becomes resentful or hostile, or like you just demonstrate things so negatively because you are so out of alignment with taking care of yourself. So the fact that you're stretching yourself thin and maybe someone comes in with an attitude, or someone comes in with their TikTok university research At that point, you just frustrated because you like, I know I did not push myself to come up in here to be arguing with the likes of you. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of attitude pops up when you don't stand up for yourself. I hope you're seeing the direct correlation. So that's what I really want out of this episode, is to recognize when you need to take a break and actually doing the steps to take it, recognizing that you will never regret doing that. You will always regret it the other way, and seeing how that impacts how you show up at work, in practice, at home, in your friendships, in your relationships, because it does make a difference. So I hope that message was helpful. I love hearing from you guys. So when you guys give me feedback on, what podcast episodes are helpful, I appreciate it. But I really felt compelled to share this message. And in fact, actually, I wasn't going to record it today because as a perfectionist, I don't want to come on in pajamas. And today I ain't getting out of these pajamas. I'm sorry, I'm not. And I'm super congested. So to record it and have it out in the internet world in perpetuity, being imperfect, is something that I don't love, but I felt so compelled to share it just like this as is, right? Like the messy middle. I hate to be seen trying sometimes, but also this is the real of life. Like sometimes you get sick and you have to ask for help. And sometimes things don't go as planned, even when you schedule them, even when you have the best intentions. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. By the time I record the next episode, I pray I'm no longer congested this way. This was a doozy. Even right now, I'm about to go lay down because that's all I've done for the last 3 days. Since I returned from Portugal, I've literally done nothing but lay down. And you know you're sick when I didn't even watch TV. I could not do anything. I literally was just in and out of sleep. So shout out to everyone who has checked on me, who I told was sick. Obviously, if I didn't tell you, no obligation. But everyone that I've told has checked on me. My boyfriend has threatened me from Ghana to fly back here, drag me to the hospital. It's not that bad. And I know they're not going to do nothing for me in urgent care, but maybe give me a swab. I'm good. But yes, so I appreciate everyone who has shown up for me. Show up for yourself just the way you would show up for others. That is really what's going to carry us forward. All right. Have a good week. Let me go cough and relax for the rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram at The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.